This is Kyle Hyman, and joining us to talk about Word on Fire Institute is Jared Zimmerer. Thanks for being here, Jared.
It's great to be with you, Kyle.
How do you go from bodybuilder to director of Word on Fire Institute?
It is a funny path, and not one that's happened, I guess, a lot. But yeah, it's interesting. My first book was about the correlation between weightlifting and Catholic spirituality, and that's actually what introduced me to kind of personally know Bishop Barron, and particularly Father Steve Gruno, the CEO of Word on Fire, is a big weightlifter, and so he and I kind of hit off a friendship. And so my undergrad's in kinesiology, but somehow God got me into a place where I was doing catechetical work at a parish, and then ended up getting my master's in theology, and now here I am at Word on Fire. So I guess that was the path God had intended for me.
Yeah. Well, can you tell us a little bit about the history and the mission of Word on Fire?
Yeah, so Word on Fire, it really started in large part to see about the need of evangelization in particular. And it started back in 1999 with first things of getting Bishop Barron on the radio, much like, Bishop Fulton Sheen and the like. I think his first show was at like 4 a.m. on a Sunday, and so he had a big following among truckers because those were pretty much the only guys up driving at 4 a.m. But he was, people had seen his talents and seen his ability to express the faith and wanted to support him, and so they wanted to figure out now how is it that we can use new media in the best way possible to reach the masses. And so, as I said, it started with radio, and then it began to evolve into the desire to see a video series, which we now know as the Catholicism series. Mm-hmm. And then also, one of the big things that helped in regard to evangelical mission is also he started on YouTube pretty much just a few months after it began, and started to create content very regularly, at least almost every week on YouTube. The first movie review was on The Departed. And going and discussing movies that you wouldn't necessarily think about in regard to like a Catholic movie review. Some of the movies like The Departed and the like are some that might have some questionable things in there, but that's what people are watching. And so to be able to critique those and bring in Catholic theology and philosophy and a better understanding of the world from a Catholic worldview, using these movies, and so kind of creating that access into a person's life. YouTube creates this opportunity for people to sort of unashamedly view things that they wouldn't necessarily tell their friends.
Right.
Watching. Like we've had guys that have emailed us that said, "Hey, I'm a huge Scorsese fan," or "Hey, I'm a huge Coen Brothers fan, but I'm not Catholic at all. In fact, I'm not even that Christian. But I happen to see this guy in a collar talking about a Coen Brothers movie, and it just attracted him to it. And then his use and ability of his talents to be able to express the truths of the faith that attracted them even further. And then all of a sudden, you've got guys watching the Catholicism series because of YouTube. So, in large part, the mission of Word on Fire is to go after this rise of secularism and this rise of unaffiliation in particular, by using new media, new expressions, new methods, much of what the Second Vatican Council called us to.
And what are we seeing whenever we're talking about the unaffiliated or the nuns, the people that don't particularly identify with any religion? What are we seeing and learning about this demographic? Yeah,
it's actually, there's a few statistics that are pretty harrowing, if not scary. Now, 25% of the United States considers themselves to be unaffiliated. And so within that demographic, there's a few kind of sub-demographics within that. So you'd have atheists, agnostics, or what you might call apatheists, people that just simply don't care, but people who are not affiliating themselves with religion in general. But I think one of the more should be alerting numbers is that now fully 50% of millennial Catholics, so Catholic or young people that were raised in the faith, are now religiously unaffiliated. So if you think about, for the past, say, 10 years of confirmation classes that you've seen gone through, 50% of those kids no longer consider themselves Catholic or even religiously affiliated anymore. And that's a problem. And it's a problem that I worked in a parish for many years, and there's a struggle being had of how do we get them back into the church, And so what we're trying to do at Word on Fire is create somewhat of a mediating structure between the culture and the parish. And so That's been one of the alerting calls of Bishop Barron, is saying our number one problem today is the rise of the unaffiliated, and what are we going to do about it? And a couple of years ago, Cardinal George, which we consider him sort of the grandfather of Word on Fire and certainly one of Bishop Barron's heroes, he challenged Bishop Barron in particular to say, like, where are the movements for today that are going to help answer this crisis? And Bishop Barron took that very seriously, and so that's what we're seeing as an outgrowth in regard to our kind of new moving forward mission with this Word on Fire Institute.
We're talking with Jared Zimmerer, the director of Word on Fire Institute. And whenever you talk about targeting the nuns, I'm assuming that this institute is not particularly targeted towards those that are abandoning their faith, but rather those that will evangelize that group. Is that the idea?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And if you consider, say, some of the historical movements that have occurred, so if you look at like St. Dominic, or if you look at St. Francis and the like, or even St. Benedict, in large part, what they were doing was going from town to town. Of course, Benedict, people came to him, but if you look at Dominic or Francis, they were going from town to town and forming people who were faithful and desired to help Francis or Dominic or the like in this specific mission. So what the Institute is for is to form people in the ethos of Bishop Barron and Word on Fire on how to evangelize well. And sort of to create a groundswell or a kind of grassroots movement of people who can take this formation it considers everything. It can catechetical, sociological, psychology, philosophy, theology, you name it. And we're bringing in experts along with, of course, Bishop Barron to teach and form people on how to evangelize well, with specifically in mind this rise of unaffiliation. How is it that we can reach those individuals? Of course, we want to evangelize everybody and make everyone Catholic, but particularly we see as kind of one of the number one problems is the rise of unaffiliation. So what are the questions that they have? What are the struggles that they're dealing with? And how is it that we can introduce Christ into that specific culture?
So will apologetics be a portion of this?
Absolutely. So we'll have apologetics in there, particularly in regard to the questions that the unaffiliated have. But then we'll also have practical evangelization as well, and the like. And so it really, in regard to topics, it's pretty wide-ranging. We have 8 principles of the Word on Fire ethos, and so each and every one of the courses has to deal with, in some way or shape or form, with those principles. And so in regard to apologetics, we have one in particular called affirmative orthodoxy. And so how is it that you can frame your apologetical answers in a way that gears towards evangelization? So it's not just the right answer to the right question, it's gearing people into a serious conversation that is it's more of discipleship along with apologetics. And so, Bishop Barron just recently talked about, you have to have apologetics with accompaniment. You can't have one without the other, or else it's not true evangelization. So looking at some of our heroes like G.K. Chesterton or C.S. Lewis, they were masters at being able to use apologetics in an evangelical way. So how to form people and how to do that well is what we're aiming at.
So then how does this look for the user? Do you go in and do you follow a particular program, or do you just pick and choose what interests you most?
So it'll actually be, each course will be delved out week by week.
Okay.
And so for example, the first course we've got is actually a 12-week course. And so each week they'll receive a lesson, and that lesson will have a 20-minute video along with numerous different, we've got study guides, we've got other articles to read, we've got videos, we've got MP3s to download, and we also have a very active forum as well ready to go to kind of create community within the platform as well. So it's less akin to like a Netflix and more akin to like a master's program, where it's each week you have certain things that you need to be studying and reading.
And then you would get this in your email, and then it would pull you into the site to be a part of the community as you watch the video and such?
That's right. You'll get a notification through email. But yeah, the platform, you can go into it anytime once you become a member. And so you can sign in, and we'll have several courses in the running, ready to go. But we're going to delve it out week by week for people. But yeah, you'll get a notification by email to let you know, hey, this week, this is what's going on. This is the topic that we're studying. This is what we're going even deeper into. Here's some great questions happening over the forum. Here's some interesting articles in regard to the same topic and the like. And then, of course, part of what we're trying to do as well is really create a prayerful community. And so through the forums, as well as eventually we're going to start using more Facebook Live and things like that to introduce people into sort of a prayer life and a way of life, of spirituality, of the Word on Fire ethos. And so we'll be garnering community with that as well.
And then who are some of the people that are involved with creating and teaching the content?
Well, we'll be announcing the fellows actually later this month.
Okay.
So I don't want to give them away too early. Yeah. But we have about half a dozen fellows already, and we're already adding several more that are all experts in their own field, all with the requisite degrees or experience. And it's a pretty exciting lineup that we continue to build.
So who would you say this is most appropriate for? Is this people that are really looking for a rigorous study and an academic kind of a thing? Is it everyday Catholics, people who already know a lot about the faith and are looking how to apply it, people that aren't even Catholic? Would they get anything out of this?
Yeah, so I would say that there's something for everybody, certainly, but we have geared this towards people that are busy lay people that just want to know more about their faith and how to evangelize well. So if you've studied the faith a lot, as I mentioned, I have a master's, but I've watched Bishop Barron's course, and I have learned a ton. So there's certainly some for people that have already studied, but then there's also the way that we've garnered this thing and the way that we've kind of geared it is towards the average layperson that doesn't want to spend hours a week trying to learn more, but they'll still have an opportunity to get in there and learn some good, deep theology and philosophy and the like. But then at the same time, if there was a non-Catholic, by all means, they can get plenty in here as well. And even if for a person perhaps is even atheist, if they want to learn more, there's certainly something for them. However, our mission really is to form faithful Christians and Catholics, or Protestants and Catholics, if you will, to go specifically after the unaffiliated. And we want to do it in a way that is emboldening the lay people, and we understand that lay people are busy. And so we wanted to be able to offer just enough content that's deep, that's very thoughtful, and a forum that can keep people engaged, but not overwhelm them. And so it's certainly something there for everyone, but we do have kind of our specific mission in mind.
Sure. Well, we're big fans of Bishop Barron and Word on Fire, so I think this is going to be a great opportunity for people to learn how to go out and evangelize, and I think that can be intimidating for people too, so I think this will be really helpful. I know it doesn't launch until October 1st, but how can people find out information and get on the waiting list? And there might be some information. You mentioned like the fellows will be announced later this month, so how can they get those notifications?
Yeah, the best thing to do is go to wordonfireinstitute.com. There'll be some more information on there, as well as so my course on the 8 principles of the Word on Fire ethos. We're kind of unloading each week. So there's already, I believe, 2 up there, and we'll be unloading more this week. But then you'll also join the waiting list, and so you'll get more information as we get closer. But yeah, as you mentioned, we launch officially on October 1st, and we'll have more information coming along the way.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jared Zimmerer, for joining us today, and reminder for people to check out wordonfireinstitute.com. Thanks, Jared.
Thank you very much. It was great.